Hello, beautifuls. It's Charla here with Dragonfly Soul Healing. So I'm just jumping on today to kind of tap in, see how everybody's doing, kind of talk about the energies I've watched kind of coming in and out and moving around us, and all these shifts kind of taking place right now. And so I just wanted to check in, see how everybody's doing, and we're going to move into some cards probably pretty quickly, because I feel like the cards are going to kind of roll with everything that I've been seeing. So one of the biggest things that I've been seeing is a huge shift in that karmic wheel. So the Wheel of Fortune had been coming up quite frequently in this last few days to a week, and when that card was coming out, I kept seeing it like this plug, like a dam shutting out that water, that flow. And with every tick that we spun that karmic wheel, the more energy that was starting to flow through. And so there was this feeling of being really blocked. And as we keep transitioning through this, we're feeling a lot of all the things we've been in avoidance of, right? So healing, a lot tied to that ancestral line, right? An avoidance of healing that parental wound, wherever we have that wounding with our parents and just family members and friends, and people around us are mirroring those issues. So that was another thing that I was watching, is some of the things that we're being triggered by and that are coming up for us aren't even tied to the people that are triggering us. They're actually really stemming from that childhood, the relationships we had with our parents or our grandparents, whoever was really prominent in our world. And so when we have that energy frequency coming in, we're seeing it being mirrored by the people around us. So the people that we work with, or our close circle, or just random strangers, are mirroring these things that we're being asked to heal and look at and pull apart and deconstruct. And most people don't want to look at that stuff, right? This is a huge part of that avoidance, and this is why it was hitting us so hard over this last couple weeks. And one of the things that we were being asked to look at was, what is it that you aren't willing to see? Because it feels like a big plug. We have this bone collector come out here. And I mean, with it is an older lady. And there's your Wheel of Fortune. It is a clock. And I feel like some people feel like they're running out of time, but I was also seeing these bones almost representing ancestors. So showing how long we've been holding this programming for. And so this is the thing, a lot of the stuff that we're healing and deconstructing isn't tied to even your stuff. It's just tied to that ancestral line. And this is that stuff that we're really avoiding dealing with. That gentle gardener comes in. It feels like, and look, we have this ancestor in the sky again, but it's you're birthing this new energy right now. And that's what a lot of this change was about, was really pushing you to heal that. There's a lot of yellowy gold in this card, which makes me think of the solar plexus. So that's that standing in your power, and that integrity was coming up a lot for me in this last week as well. Who is standing in their integrity and really in their truth, instead of just plugging into other systems that aren't serving them or kind of just getting them ahead. And so these are some things that we need to look at. It's interesting. I wasn't going to take this one until I flipped it over, and I was like, all right, it's meant to stay. So we have this mountain here. I'm like, which one do I want to, this? I feel like we're going to just go with this one first, because we already had these eggs showing up here in this gentle gardener, right? Now we're kind of closer up to these eggs, and it says Field of Dreams. And so just beyond the mountain. So in the deck, this card talks about feeling like you have to move this mountain in a sense, and what you're really being shown is that what if you don't have to move it or climb it, but you could just walk around it? And so it's in us kind of healing this stuff with our ancestors right now. So we're clearing that karmic energy with the ancestors, which feels like a huge burden, right? It is why we avoid a lot of it. It's why we've been in avoidance of a lot of this stuff. But yet that Lionsgate portal came through and it was like, you don't get to hide it. And listen, I was with you all, so I know. Anything that I didn't want to look at literally got slapped in my face. What was I avoiding? And all these kinds of things was like right here, right in my face for the last few weeks. Really strong, really prominent, asking to be looked at. And it felt like this giant mountain. And, you know, I went through my emotions and all the things and really sat with it and seen where it wasn't really about me as much as what I was taking on for my family, how many containers I was holding for people that weren't holding it for themselves. But why would they if I'm holding it for them? And so this was kind of what I wanted to come on and talk about too. And so it is showing up even a little bit here. We have this like potential of birth, right? That's what eggs represent, is like incubating these new ideas, these new possibilities, these new lives. And it's the field of dreams. So like all kinds of possibilities are open to you if you choose to take it. But you first have to look at your stuff, right? And one of the biggest things that I was asked to look at is where I was so busy holding space for other people and trying to be that light worker and help and all the things, that I was actually burning myself out. I was letting things go in a lot of my world, my business, whatever. And so it created a bunch of chaos, but it was really to show me stuff. And I know that even when I'm going through my big mental breakdown of like, oh, I hate humaning, and who let me do this, and why did I come here, and all the things. Because there's that dry desert, right? We go through that energy of just in nothingness, or like feels like hell, right? In a sense, in its own way, in everybody's own way. It's like that sin stuck in the mud, right? That's that feeling that we've been experiencing of like, and the storm fields underneath it. I'll stop there, but one of those is going to resonate for you, right? Stuck in the mud, dry desert, and the storms. It's like there's this energy of no matter which timeline you were on working through this Lionsgate portal, it was like it didn't matter, because you were still, every road was a little bit rough. And so, but it was the spark. I mean, I love this deck. It's pretty awesome. There was that spark that came from it, right? And that's what we're being asked to look at, is how did this shift you? How did this get you looking closer to this? Because here you can't see it as clearly, right? You're kind of pulled out of view. And so you were asked to observe from above, like, okay, what do we need to heal in that ancestral realm to step more into that magic properly, so that you can get that closer look of that field of dreams of where you're going, what you're about to birth. So it feels like over that Lionsgate portal, over this last week here, it was like you were in this place of like pulled out, looking at it differently, shifting things, crying, doing whatever you had to do. And then all of a sudden you're getting this closer look at everything that's coming forth. So a lot of this stuff, and so you could still be in it. I'm seeing that karmic wheel starting to turn in, I was seeing it like in that light worker's favor. So those of us who are standing in their integrity and still kind of doing what they're being asked to do and all this stuff, we don't have to be perfect. Nobody's asking for perfect, but it's about really doing what feels right and aligned for you. and not others. You're getting this opportunity to jump in. Andromedan energy, adventure, say yes to change. I love this. This almost looks like an eyeball here, actually. But it's literally, oh, it's like a person. It's their feet here, jumping into like water. If I could just like keep my hands still. Interesting. But it's like jumping into this whole new world. I was actually talking to a friend today, and I like hopped timelines, and I like for the first time like witnessed as it happened in a sense. So it was like I was having this conversation, and all of a sudden I like glitched in a sense, but it was me hopping into a new timeline or a different timeline. And all of a sudden it was like I was still talking, but I was like, I don't even remember like what I was talking about or what was our conversation. I just like fully glitched, but then like took in this download of like this was me hopping timelines and witnessing it happen in a sense. And so this is kind of what this jump in is about, right? It's like jumping through that portal and taking that change and allowing whatever timeline hopping means to you and shifting your perspective and jumping in. What are you being asked to do and shift right now? Where are you being asked to just go around this mountain? What if it's not your fucking mountain to climb or carry or move or anything? What if a lot of this ancestral stuff was your trigger to be like, aren't you worthy of more? One of the biggest jumps I had to make, and it was interesting, I was thinking about my move to BC when I went to get my coffee this morning, and then I just like hit the back road, right? I'm like, I'll just take the long way home because that's how I roll. And I was thinking about how when I moved here, one, how like randomly spontaneous it was. Like it was just kind of a one day it wasn't happening, the next day it was, and all of a sudden it happened. And in moving here, it transformed me on such a level to even witness that it was my ancestor, Akashics, all those old timelines, old stories that were creating this mess that I was in. And it was also like, you know, like you move to BC and you think that it's going to be like this little magical, it's so beautiful here, but BC will come in and fucking rock you to your core and really ask you who you are and what you're worth. And so over the years, I've had to really adjust to that. But as I keep evolving and growing, it's like I get these deeper downloads and I go further and I see things more clearly and everything changes. But it took me allowing myself to go to those depths of darkness to actually transform these parts of me. It wasn't all just sunshine and rainbows and beautiful lakes and all the things. There's also that part of me that I wasn't willing to heal when I was back home, still stuck in my stories and my programs and my comfortability. It wasn't until I really jumped into the deep end of the truth of myself that I really started seeing the earth for what it was. So it was like my soul knew what was going on, yet I didn't have the dialogue or the truth or the whatever it was that I required because I didn't hold those codes back home. I only held so much data there saying, listen, this is as far as I can go. And then once it was time and I'd learned everything I could from all the circumstances and the places I'd lived and the people around me, the knowledge they held, like where they were willing to go, all those things. It was in jumping into that deep end of unknown. Like you're jumping through this and you don't know where you're going. Yet you know you can't stay where you are because you've learned everything you can from this situation. Take that adventure. And then allow yourself to go to that deep, dark place. It's not forever. It's not always comfy. But neither is staying stagnant. Neither is holding a container for everybody around you while you're still suffering and struggling. And people aren't willing to meet you there. Where are your true friends? You don't know until you hit that rock bottom and you watch as they all watch you fall and don't help you. So what change needs to happen in order to allow you to start stepping forward and really stepping into the mission and deciding you're worth more and that you're willing to take that leap of faith in yourself, because you're here to break those ancestral patterns. So if you're just repeating the same pattern as your mom or your dad or your grandparents or whatever it was, and you're not really choosing your own life because you're still living in your hometown and you're still just doing the same old things, or you're still worried about your job that you don't even enjoy, then aren't you still just holding the burden of your ancestors? Aren't you still just playing the same game, the same story, the same old dry desert, stuck in the mud, stormy weather stuff? What if all of that stuff is actually just meant to be your spark of inspiration, of change, of healing, of growth, of jumping in the deep end? And even if it's uncomfortable and shitty and a little messy at first, there's still a lot of beauty in that healing because you find yourself. The One Ring Circus underneath that, this feels like that holding everybody's burdens and leaving yourself secluded. And so in our meditation last week, I took everybody through, and I actually called forth, I think it was actually our moon circle. Like, time is becoming very irrelevant in my world now, and I don't remember much of anything, even if I remember it all. Anyways, one of the circles we had recently, this last week here, I had people call all the people that they felt taken advantage of, that they were holding containers for, all the people standing in front of them. And I had them visualize this golden bubble with a cord coming back to self. So the golden bubble's around those people. Cord coming to self is the energy leaking to hold their container. So I was showing them how many containers we're holding and how many energetic cords were going out holding all these containers for all these people, but that was all their magic being given out to everybody else while they sat there depleted, all alone, feeling stuck in the mud, going through all these storms, because guess what? All your magic is gone, so you're just like a dried up desert. So I made them see all these gold bubbles of magic being pulled out of everybody. And then I had them take all of their gold bubbles back, and as that cord was pulling back in, we just cleansed all that energy off and pulled it back into self. So we pulled all of our containers back in so that we held that magic, so we held that strength in ourselves. So we started to water our own garden. Every time we hold a container for people, we are taking away their trigger to heal. And sometimes some people need a little bit of space held for them, but then we have to take our container back and bring it back to self. And so right now, I am strongly encouraging everybody to be fucking selfish. Like really, really selfish in what you require moving forward. Is there an equal energy exchange between you and your relationships right now? Right? And this doesn't mean like tit for tat. It means like, are they going to hold the space for you the way you're holding it for them if the roles were reversed? If not, pull back. It is not up to you to hold these people's containers anymore. And that is the biggest download that I've been receiving this last week is, if somebody's willing to watch you fall when they can help you, then they're not really holding that same space, are they? If you knew that in the reversal, if you could help somebody and while you're watching them fall, you would not do the same, then this is where that integrity needs to change. We need to shift that narrative, right? If people aren't willing to do the same for you, then pull back. Right? We got to let go of the expectations. We can't expect people to show up for us the way we show up for them. It does, however, mean that we need to pull our energy back into self and not give away all of our power if they're not even willing to help hold space for you later. And so I feel like, because I've been witnessing it with not just myself, but kind of all over the place. Everybody goes through the same kind of things. I'm seeing it everywhere. And so I know that it's a theme, and it's something that's going on around all of us, is we're seeing who has our back and who doesn't. Who's been there for us and really cares, and who doesn't. And so what are you going to do with that knowledge? And what are you going to do with that understanding? Because right now you have this choice to leave all that behind and jump into something completely different and new and transformative and healing. So I want to grab one more card here to kind of see, like, okay, you decide to pull your energy back in from everyone and be a little bit selfish for the next few weeks. What does that look like? Perspective. None of this matters. Zoom out. Common ground. So I feel like it shows you, when you pull all your energy back into self, it shows you even more of the bigger picture of like what we're really doing here and why you're on this earth plane. Because right now, a lot of people are getting really lost in their story, right? In all these narratives that don't really matter. They're really just your Akashic records keeping stories real that aren't real. They're just old storylines that you're repeating because you're not healing it or shifting it or whatever. And it's not calling you out. It's just being genuine. Like, listen, a lot of the shit that's going on in your world is just your past lives coming back to be like, hey, we said we'd heal this, but then you forgot when you got here. So now it's just a fucking annoyance. But really it's healable, and it's something that can literally shift out and change if you want it to. So what are you doing to find that knowledge to help shift it, right? How do you start clearing those Akashic records? Find somebody that has that knowledge. Go do some research. Go see what you got. Like, what's next for you? Zoom out and see that next step. We also have We the Hathors, and that's no surprise. We have Egyptian energy coming in today for our Quantum Witch Circle. It says, deep love, mother's milk, birth as a portal. And we had this birthing energy already here with these eggs. And now we have this Hathors, and it's like this portal coming in here. And tonight we're doing a Egyptian Merkaba activation for the circle. And so it's like taking everyone through a portal right now, allowing us to really get those deep-rooted connections that we held on Earth before it got hijacked. So pulling all your magic back in and choosing that higher vibrational timeline, that frequency, removing yourself from those energies that leave you feeling like that dry desert land, right? We can't hold this container and still try and be magic. It doesn't work. We actually have to step into it. And this card on the bottom of the deck says, all paths lead to home. Inner authority, intuition, turn your gaze within. What'd I say? Yes. Turn your gaze within. Become a little bit selfish. Become really fucking selfish. I don't care. We gotta shift it. And if that means being really selfish for a while and really just looking out for number one, and really, you know, if you're somebody that takes care of self, if you're somebody that's already selfish, I mean, let's learn how to fucking switch those roles too. Right? But if we're giving and giving and giving, we gotta catch those downloads and we gotta bring it back in. The only way to help this earth shift and transform is to literally change it in your life, to allow other people to see that example. Holding the container for everybody is not helping them see the example, it's just protecting them. We can't do that anymore. It doesn't fucking work. It doesn't work. We're seeing it doesn't work. So change it. Hold your container really strong. Get your foundations. Figure out who you are, what you need to heal, what you're in avoidance of. Stop having random sex and going drinking and avoiding and avoiding and avoiding and avoiding. Dig into that deep, stormy stuff. because on the other side of it is magic. So we're a little bitch slappy today, which happens. It comes out of me sometimes. But I feel like right now we really need to reset this container and restart, because the way that we're healing the world isn't working either right now, and we need to look at it differently. So what needs to change? It's us. How we are creating the containers for ourselves and using our magic, right? I've been holding my car together with magic for longer than anybody should be, because I've been holding space for so many other people that my car has been getting neglected, and I've literally just been holding a container for it as well. Right? And it does not work that way. I mean, you can make it work. I've learned how to make it work. You can use magic that way, but what if you stopped holding the container for everybody else and you were able to just fix your car? Right? It's my own download I'm getting. And so I'm learning and growing and evolving as everybody else is. And that's why I come in and I give you this advice, because I see it in myself and I'm shifting it in myself and really taking in as much of it as I can. I'm not perfect. I still do my own things and I still got my shit, but listen, I'm not afraid to just like sit there and really correct myself when I see it. So let's change, let's evolve. This is how the Lightworkers step into mission, is to figure out what your self-container looks like without those codependencies, without those toxic relationships or those addictions or whatever it is. And so now it's just about what's the first step you take to start evolving this. It's not about change. It's about how do you start evolving from this perspective that you've known and start walking around those mountains instead of climbing them or moving them. So I'm going to leave you with that. If you require a deeper, more personal session and kind of going deeper into this healing, or require just some assistance, right, getting through, I will leave all that information for my sessions and my pendulum course and all that in the description. And I will chat with y'all soon. Take care.